Hello, dear listeners. I hope you are all doing well and healthy by God's grace. I'm Samuel Madison, here again with a strange and heartbreaking story. Please forgive any mistakes and kindly bear with me. I'm not sure how scary this is, but it's truly upsetting, and it happened recently, around May, in this area. If anyone knows anything, please let me know. This story was shared by a dedicated listener from Boot.com, Michael Swan, from Grove Creek, Springfield County in Illinois State. He is from Ashwood Village. The incident happened in a nearby village in Riverside. For reasons of privacy, I am avoiding mentioning the village's name. Anyway, Michael began his tale. The Missing Children. It happened in early May. Suddenly, two young boys went missing. The entire area was searching and even making announcements over loudspeakers. The boys were Michael's own young cousins, almost the same age, only a difference of 3 or 4 months. That night, they searched everywhere but couldn't find them. The next day, everyone was working on the Missouri River embankment. In the area where there were huge piles of sand, there's a shallow, knee-deep pond. The two boys' bodies were found floating there, which shocked everyone. They had searched that very pond the night before and the adjacent river, finding nothing. This sparked confusion and debate among the locals. The pond was too shallow, with no stream connecting it to the river that could have carried the bodies there. It was all surrounded by sand heaps. The police came and took the bodies away. The autopsy confirmed, as expected, that both kids had drowned. A week after this tragic incident, the neighborhood was slowly returning to normal, but the two mothers who lost their little ones were still devastated. The two sisters are Rachel, the older one, and Roxie, the younger. Rachel's in-laws live about a mile from my place, and Roxie's house is across the river, about 1.5 miles away. Their father's place is in our area, too. I run a rice business in the local market, and I know pretty much everyone, including the sister's younger brother, Ryan, who used to buy rice from my shop. About a week after the drowning, when Ryan came in, I asked him what exactly happened. He tried to avoid it, but when I gently pressed him, he finally broke down in tears. After I comforted him, he softly started speaking. The shame of childlessness. The whole thing started about 8 or 9 years ago. 9 months after the older sister, Rachel, got married, the younger sister, Roxie, also got married across the river. But a problem arose. Rachel couldn't conceive. Initially, they thought nothing of it. Her brother-in-law took her to a doctor, but the report showed no medical issues. She continued treatment, but there were no results. In rural settings, women face intense rumors, and eventually Rachel started trying home remedies. Still, nothing worked. Then, 6 or 7 months into Roxie's marriage, she also showed no signs of pregnancy. Her in-laws took her to a doctor. Medically, everything was fine, yet no results. The sisters became desperately disappointed. Since both marriages were local, everyone knew their situation. Quiet rumors began spreading that the family's girls supposedly couldn't have children. They were openly shamed and insulted. After 2 years without a child, the gossip intensified, crushing the sisters. People wondered how it was possible for both women to be unable to conceive.
The dark bargain. Unable to bear the humiliation, the sisters sought help from a traditional healer or Kabiraj. Roxie found one named Clifford. When his initial normal treatments failed, Clifford made a strange proposal. He could help her conceive, but she would have to cross some lines. Roxie, driven by desperation, agreed. She returned home and told Rachel. The task involved ritualistic items and a large sum of money. After hearing the full conditions, Rachel also agreed without hesitation. The next day, they met Clifford, who set the conditions. They had to go to a separate graveyard and bring soil from a new grave. Then, at the three-way junction, they had to mix that soil with water from 7 springs and the Missouri River and feed the mixture to 2 pairs of pigeons. Only then would he do his part. The grave part scared them, but the desire for motherhood pushed the fear aside. Clifford warned them that while retrieving the soil late at night, they might hear terrifying sounds behind them, but they must not look back. They bravely went on a new moon night, enduring the sounds of foxes, dogs, and rustling leaves. They managed to gather most items, but buying 2 pairs of pigeons and goats was stressful due to their poor financial situation. Finally, they arranged everything and went back. Clifford told them to return on the next new moon night, promising 2 items that would ensure their success. On the next new moon night, they found Clifford's door shut. They overheard him talking to someone about arrangements being made. After knocking, he let them in and gave them a special oil and drinking water, instructing them to use them for 7 days. He made one stipulation. After the child was born, they had to give him a special thing. If they refused, the child would be harmed. The sisters agreed and returned home. The consequences. Surprisingly, after years of failed medical treatments, Rachel became pregnant within 6 months, and 4 months later, Roxie also conceived. They both gave birth to healthy boys, much to the joy of their families. However, they completely forgot to pay Clifford. Several months passed happily. One day, Clifford suddenly showed up, furious. "What is going on? You haven't kept your promise," he yelled. "It's been 3 months since Roxie had her baby. If you delay, the Jinns will seriously harm you and your babies. Meet me on the upcoming new moon night." The sisters were terrified. 6 months had passed since the first baby was born, and 3 months since the second. They rushed to Clifford's house on the next new moon night. Just outside his door, they overheard muffled voices. It sounded like someone was having a serious music fight with Clifford. Suddenly, he burst out, saw them, and screamed in panic. "This is all your fault. Because of you, I'm in this mess. If you don't do what I say quickly, I swear I'll send those evil spirits right after your kids." The sisters demanded to know what he wanted. Clifford, with a terrified voice, said the spirits were furious. To calm them, the sisters had to provide 4 mounds of sweets, 2 each, and 2 pairs of male goats. This amounted to a staggering sum, 3 to 4 lakh Bangladeshi taka, a fortune for them. They politely asked if the price could be lowered, saying they simply couldn't afford it. Clifford became enraged. "I told you, you have to fulfill the conditions. If you refuse, there will be a tug of war over your children's lives." At this, Roxie lost her temper. "Stop this nonsense! I can't possibly give you all this." She started a huge fight, smashing things in front of Clifford. Rachel dragged her away. As they left, Clifford shouted after them, "Go ahead. You don't have to pay. Soon you'll notice."
The darkness descends. A few more months passed. Then the strange occurrences began. One day, after sunset, Rachel's boy started crying uncontrollably all night. The next day, Roxie called and said the same thing was happening with her baby, who lived over a mile away. Every evening the crying began, getting worse, as if the children were terrified of something. They would suddenly jerk awake from their swings, crying hysterically. The children grew thin, reduced to skin and bones. Believing Clifford had put a curse on them, the father decided to bring them home for treatment. They consulted Father James, the local imam. Father James was supposed to visit after the Maghrib prayer. He arrived, but just before entering the house, he suddenly gasped, "I seek refuge in God. I seek forgiveness from God," and turned back. Ryan quickly followed him. "Look, Ryan, I just can't do this," Father James said, shaking. "Since I left the mosque, I felt uneasy. When I reached your house, I saw 4 black, smoky shapes sitting on the mango tree. They spoke in a hushed voice, saying, 'You're going inside. You'll come back as a corpse.' I couldn't do it. You need to see a senior scholar." Seeking the scholar. The family decided to visit the shrine in St. Cruz the next morning. They met a pious healer who took them to the senior scholar, Professor Everett. After hearing the whole story, Professor Everett agreed to come in 7 days, but first he taught them daily prayers and practices. He emphasized they must become consistent with their 5 daily prayers and recite the Quran regularly. They silently agreed and started praying that day. One evening, after the men returned from the fields, Roxie went to the village water pump near the bamboo grove to wash up. Though it was dusk, the grove was dark. She suddenly saw 2 lights flickering like flames, 2 burning eyes. She rushed to the house. Harsh voices called out from behind, "Stop! You haven't given us what we asked for. Go back to the boss. We will harm the children." Terrified, Roxie ran to her sister's room, collapsed, and fainted. After she regained consciousness, she told everyone what happened. Rachel then broke down and explained the whole story of the Kabiraj and the Shirk to her father and brother, who had known nothing until then. The exorcism. 7 days later, Professor Everett arrived. He entered the house reciting prayers and was shocked to see how weak the crying children were. He brought a special oil, recited prayers over it, and massaged it on the babies' noses and chests. Everyone watched in amazement as the crying stopped instantly. The professor told the sisters, "Feed them now. God willing, they will eat." He told the father to meet him the next day. The next morning, Professor Everett looked serious. "After I left last night, I felt uneasy," he told Ryan. "My student Jinns later told me they saw 4 black shadows around your house. They said those shadows mocked and threatened to finish me off as I left." "Your sisters committed sins through Shirk," the professor continued. "They took help from that low-life Clifford and used 4 evil Jinns out of greed. Because they failed to pay the agreed-upon offering, the goats and sweets, the Jinns became upset, and Clifford, insulted, sent them to scare the children." He warned Ryan that the Jinns were powerful and advised continued prayers and practices, promising to visit again in 2 days. 2 days later, Professor Everett arrived. He performed a ritual, then had Rachel and Roxie sit down and began praying, calling upon the evil Jinns. When the Jinns entered the sisters' bodies, the room seemed to shake. They began yelling and cursing the cleric, demanding the children as payment. The cleric tried to reason with them. "These are poor people. It's hard for them to gather that much money. Forgive them." But the Jinns refused. Finally, the cleric roared, "This world belongs to God. I can drive you all away." The Jinns argued back until the cleric, enraged, took out a special stick and began striking them. Though only the sisters' bodies were hit, many mixed voices cried out in pain. After a long confrontation, the demons shouted, "All right, we're leaving, but one day, somehow, we'll get our revenge." The cleric shouted back, "You won't be able to do anything. Trust in God." Rachel and Roxie immediately collapsed. After an hour, they came to. The professor taught them spiritual practices and assured them that if they followed them regularly, the problems would stop, and his student spirits would watch over the children. The return. For several years, the sisters prayed daily, and the children grew up normally. But about 3 or 4 months before the recent incident, Professor Everett passed away naturally due to old age. Right after that, the problems started again. But because so many years had passed peacefully, no one imagined it was the work of the devil. The children, when playing outside, sometimes returned home and told their mothers that 4 people often called them. "Come, come join us. We'll give you food and toys." The parents warned the boys not to go near anyone offering treats. Then 2 nephews came to visit, and just 3 days later, the tragedy happened. After the boys went missing, the search went on all day and night. The mothers cried until they nearly fainted. Suddenly, around midnight, both sisters screamed out loud together. In their dreams, they had seen evil spirits approaching and saying, "Didn't we tell you? We'll take revenge. Understand your fate." Hearing this, Ryan broke down crying. We calmed everyone down and sent them home. That's how it happened, brother. I don't know how scary everyone was, but it's a truly tragic incident. Drowning is a terrible way to die, but was there really some supernatural element involved? Who am I to judge? Only the person who went through it can truly understand how heartbreaking it is. May God grant the innocent children paradise. Amen. That's all for now. I'll be back.